G'day, Teeth here from pickinglessons.com. Isn't this Finnish Polka a great tune? In the key of B minor, but we're going to play it in standard open G tuning. It works really well. In a moment we're going to take a look at part A of this tune together, but if you head to pickinglessons.com, you'll be able to grab yourself a copy of the tablature. You'll also be able to have a look at the next part of this lesson where we'll break down part B as well. Plus you'll find some backing and play along tracks there in the member section, so pickinglessons.com. Okay, so let's break down this part A section, and also something we're going to cover here. This is about an intermediate level melodic tune. Now, we're going to make sure that you know what all the symbols, the rhythm and repeat symbols mean in this lesson as well. So we're going to do that in a moment. But let's slowly have a play through part A and then we'll break it down. 1 and 2 and... Okay, so that was part A, nice and slow. So we are in the key of B minor, but we are in standard open G tuning, so nothing needs to change there. Chordal wise, we're playing around the B minor and the A, which works absolutely fine in this tuning, and the D later on in part B. You may want to tune string 5 to an A or spike it to an A when you're accompanying if you want to play particular roles. I probably wouldn't bother. If I was going to back this up with a B minor and A, for example, that we find in part A, just playing around the triads, that would work absolutely fine. Now, when we're playing this melody, there are a few things we need to keep in mind. So firstly, we're in 2/4 time. We have 2 beats per measure in this tune. So 2/4 time, and we have some variation of rhythm we want to cover as well. And we're going to have a look at exactly what everything means in this tablature. So firstly, I want to point you in the direction underneath the music there. The letters. The letters are for your right hand. So the I, T, M, T, T, M. That's for your fingers in your right hand. So thumb, index, and middle. The numbers that you find underneath the tablature too, there's a couple there on the first line. Second note has a number 2, and towards the end of the line there's a number 3. That's just fingering for your left hand. So minimal fingering because we have a lot of open strings. But when you see that underneath the tablature, that's referring to left hand. Take it as a guide. Generally speaking, it's a guide. It's probably a good guide to follow if you're not too sure, but if you've been playing for a while, certainly you can adjust that and make your own choice as well. Now, we are in 2/4 time, so 2 beats per measure, and that first 4-note passage, we have a variation of rhythm that's really important to look at. What we have there is basically a dotted 8th note into a 16th, and then 2/8. So 1 E and a 2 and. 1 E and a 2 and. So the dotted 8th note is 3/4 of the beat, and then the 16th there is the last quarter of that first beat. 1 E and a 2 and. So we can count it in that way. 1 E and a 2 and. Just getting used to how that sounds, and then when you see that type of rhythm, you can respond. Ready and. One more time. Next measure is a straight 8ths. So let's try first and second measure just to get the variation of rhythm. Ready and. 1 E and a 2 and 2 and. Ready and. You'll notice in the right hand we're using index and thumb and middle and thumb. So in this melodic technique, the thumb is very dominant down on those higher strings. Moving on to the third measure over the A chord. You can play that with index and thumb, index, thumb, thumb and index. Left hand wise, second and third fingers will get your position done there. Then we have this nice melodic run that we want to play with a very specific pattern of fingers on the right hand. So middle, thumb, index, thumb, because it's quite quick. What we're looking at there with the rhythm are 16ths. 1 E and a 2 and. So you can see there we're going to be moving quite quickly. So firstly, right hand, middle, thumb, index, thumb. Back to the index with the thumb on the end for the 8th notes. So right hand, now left hand, second finger, third finger, first finger will get down to that 4th fret F sharp. 1 E and a 2 and. So at this point here, after that fourth measure, fifth measure in, we kind of have a repeat from the beginning. So we have, with the pickup though in measure 6, leading us to the 2 measures before we hit the repeat. So 6th fret open, that's okay, but they're 2/16. So the rhythm there, 1 and 2 and da. Again, just watching the fingers in the right hand, it's in the tablature. Start getting used to reading that. Now, last 2 measures before the repeat. So the first repeat, and we're going to talk about how these repeats work in a moment. So first repeat here. First repeat, we have... So measure 7, measure 8. Measure 7, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 8th, 2/16, 2/8 in measure 7, 1 and 2 and. Measure 8, just 2/8 notes, 1 and 2 and, so that's pretty easy. So some rhythm variation with the 16ths, the dotted 8th, and then the 8th notes. That's what we're seeing here in part A. So be really comfortable with how they sound and how we read those. Fingers are the numbers underneath the tablature. The letters are your right hand. And then obviously the numbers in the tablature are for your frets, of course. Now the repeat we have here, we have a number 1 and a number 2 ending. So notice above the tablature, there's number 1 with the bracket and number 2 with a bracket. That's telling us that as we repeat these 8 measures, we have 2 alternate endings. So the first time through, we would play measure 1 all the way through to measure 8, repeat back to the beginning. Then we'll go through measures 1 to 7, finishing with measure 9, which is the second alternate ending, the second time through, which will then lead us into part B. So this is a very standard way of having alternate endings on a repeat without having to write the whole thing out again necessarily and end up with pages and pages of music. So that alternate ending. So again, just one more time, measure 1 through 8, first time through. Go back and repeat 1 through to 7, then jump into measure 9, which is that second ending, the second ending there. That will then move you on into part B. Part B has a similar idea when we get to that as well with the repeats. Very standard thing to do. So I'm going to play it through for you with 2 different endings. I'm going to play number 1 ending first time, number 2 ending second time. Just have a look at the music and follow along as we do that. Ready and... First ending, back to the beginning. Measure 7 and second ending. Now that will launch us into part B. Notice those melody notes were different on the end there. That will take us into part B. So I just wanted to cover some of those symbols, the different variation of rhythm we're seeing in here, and the fact that those repeats, we have the alternate endings. It's a very common thing you'll see in music in general, but lots of music and tablature on pickandlessons.com certainly has that as well, but it's a very, very standard thing you'll see in music. Okay, now there was part A. It's a great tune. It's played pretty quickly, so certainly practice it up and get to know it. But head to pickandlessons.com and we will break down part B, and you will be able to get yourself the chart that we're working through, the tablature, and you'll also get some MP3 downloads in the member section, the backing track, and then the play along track that we heard at the beginning of this lesson as well. So pickandlessons.com, I'll see you there.